Welcome to the Startup Competitors Podcast, where we talk with early-stage entrepreneurs to understand what information they use to inform product roadmap, strategy, and market differentiation.
Welcome to the podcast. Today we're chatting with Nassim Abdi, who's the CEO and co-founder of StoryBolt. Really enjoyed learning more about the StoryBolt product and probably more enjoyed learning more about Nassim and her background. Super interesting. I really think you're going to like learning about her time growing up in Iran, becoming an actress, getting her PhD, teaching, and then becoming a startup founder. And I'm sure I left some stuff out of there. It's just super interesting. Brought a smile to my face while we were talking, and it's bringing a smile to my face now. Just what a pleasant conversation. I think you'll get a lot out of this episode. With that, also want to do a quick shout out to Fuel Merchandise Group. Fuel is one of our newer sponsors here to the podcast. You can find them at fuelmerchandise.com. If you need any brand marketing or products for your company, you can get 10% off your first order. Just mention Startup Competitors at fuelmerchandise.com. And with that, we'll just get right on to the show. Thanks so much for listening. Welcome to the podcast. Today we have Nassim Abdi, who's the CEO and co-founder of StoryBolt. Nassim, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thanks for having me, and hello, everyone.
Why don't we start with a quick elevator pitch for StoryBolt?
Absolutely. StoryBolt is a marketplace of stories and storytellers for virtual employee engagement solutions for companies and corporations.
Make that a little bit more detailed. What is so if I'm a company, why would I use you guys? And if I'm an employee, what's my experience?
I was trying to use that few moments that you're in the elevator, and I don't have enough time to explain all that.
It's all good. I think you're the first person in 110 episodes to actually give me a real elevator pitch. So that's well done.
Thanks. Well, yeah, because I got so many different feedback about we just wanted to hear a little bit of okay, I'm going to go with the first layer and then we can dig into the other layers.
Love it.
So basically we're a marketplace of short documentary films and the filmmakers for live Q&A sessions. And if you're an HR decision maker and would like to have brilliant lunch and learn program for your employees on topics related to corporate culture, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or anything else related to team building and allyship, or anything related to corporate culture, but you don't have time to find that perfect session and book that perfect speaker and make sure everything is happening on time, you can come to our platform. Our platform could help you bring a brilliant program under 1 hour that is meaningful and engaging, as well as totally related to the topic that you're trying to cover. So when you have a topic in mind, for example, we had United Airlines, one of our clients, they requested a session on implicit bias. And when they sent their request, they got matched with 2 short documentaries. When they picked their favorite one and paid for the annual subscription, then they could book a session of screening of the film and a live video chat with the filmmaker for a Q&A. And the employees in 1 hour watched a story about the topic, got engaged and asked their questions and had a conversation about the topic in the safe environments that the film and filmmaker created for that topic.
That's a beautiful example. Thank you for that. Is it always a existing documentary or piece of content, or are custom pieces of content potentially created on request?
So right now we are working with existing content, but we have a huge pool of documentaries, more than 3,000 from 112 countries around the world. And we match the documentaries that we have, and that's one of the value propositions that we have. So the HR decision maker doesn't have to go through all those 3,000 films and find the right one. We do the matching. Right now, you're using human intelligence. In the future, we're going to use in artificial intelligence and like a recommender system. But the matching happens between the topic that they request and the film. What you asked is exactly our vision for the future, to become that marketplace that they can also request a documentary or hire a filmmaker that is the perfect match with their organization culture to make the documentary for them.
Awesome. And then you just rattled off a couple of current stats with the number of countries and amount of content. Why don't you paint a little bit more of a picture of the current status of the company? Just any other kind of vanity metrics you're willing and able to share?
Yeah, so we have, if I want to go more with more accurate numbers, now 3,650 something. I don't know about the something, but from more than 112 countries. Honestly, right now it's beyond that, which we are very excited about. So we had 4 global short documentary festivals, and with those festivals, we've received this number of films that we have right now. So when we receive the films, we do the vetting and licensing of the content, and then they are available for screening and Q&As. We also, with our minimum viable product, our platform first version, we've had clients, real clients, actually pretty exciting ones. So United Airlines is one. We had 19 paying customers, and we have several others joining each week, especially now during post-COVID-19 and forced to be remote employees. Virtual employee engagement programs are pretty hot right now. So we got verbal confirmation from Amazon last week. So we are excited about that. We are going to have a meeting with Google in 2 weeks. So there are some pretty good traction that is happening right now. But at the same time, we're also adding to our films every day based on the requests that we are getting. So, yeah.
How big is the team right now?
So my co-founder, Babak Shahmansuri, and I started this platform, and now we have 2 full-time people with us who are working on product and content, and we have a few part-time consultants who are also helping with the platform.
Got it. Where did this idea come from? How did you get started with StoryBolt?
So there's a story behind StoryBolt, and I will try to keep it short. But so the idea of StoryBolt came when I was not in the world of startups, when I was teaching in university classroom, actually. And I was trying to engage my students with a topic that was very close to my heart. It was impact of war on people. Unfortunately, I grew up during a brutal war and also lost my fiance due to chemical attacks. And so you can imagine it's been a quiet journey since then. But you can imagine when I'm trying to when I talk about this, or I'm trying to teach about this topic, it's something that I really want to engage my students with that. And so when I got a session finally with my class that was about impact of war on people, I was pretty excited, actually. I thought that's an opportunity for me to engage my students. And I had a big dream of like, oh, they're going to get engaged with my personal stories. Then we will go to theories, and then they want to take action. They want to do something. That was my dream. I went to class. I started sharing personal stories, and they were not engaged. They couldn't relate to my story, probably because they've never lived in real war. I didn't even get eye contacts. So I was pretty frustrated that day, and came home, started thinking, how can I change that? And I decided to use another experience that I had, which I never thought is going to be helpful or useful in that way. I also happened to be the leading actress of a film that was on a tour in US and Europe and featured on Netflix a few years ago. So because of that experience, I got a lot of Q&A opportunities with the screening of the film. And I found that the best part of the film experience. I didn't know that it's going to be my favorite part, but when I started going to these Q&A sessions, I found how watching a film and together and having a Q&A after that creates a safe space for engaging conversations. And quite frankly, I made my best friends through those Q&A sessions. it was really sincere conversations that we had after the film. And I thought, well, maybe a film can help here with my class. So I decided to show them a short documentary about the issue and invited the filmmaker on video chat. And that was way before COVID-19. So that was not a normal thing to do. But it did work. It changed everything, actually. My students were gazed on the screen. They had brilliant questions to ask from the filmmaker. And it changed also everything for me. I quit my faculty position. And then I looked among my friends and network, and Babak, a friend of 11 years, he was just exiting his third startup. And we have always had great chemistry working together. And I asked him to join me with this. And we started building the platform. And we knew that we needed lots of documentary films on different topics. So we started with the film festivals. And at first, we started using this platform in universities, university libraries more specifically, because that was the place that I knew the best. And it did work. We actually work with Northwestern University right now, University of Toronto bought from us, School of Art and Stuff Chicago, and several others. And as we went further, we found a bigger market that needs a solution for engagement, and that's companies and corporations with employee engagement, because they understand how important it is to retain high quality talent and keep them engaged in a positive culture. Before, maybe it was more a checkmark item that they had, but with millennials, it's not a checkmark item anymore. They know that it's impact their bottom line. So they've been spending lots of money on initiatives for creating that positive culture of diversity and inclusion. And most of the time, the response that they're getting is the programs are too superficial or time consuming. So we thought, why not? This is a meaningful way to change that and also create a marketplace that works on both sides. The other side, filmmakers are also passionate to share their stories. And let's do it. So that's how everything got started.
I love it. And you dropped a couple of interesting things in there about your background. So I would be remiss if I did not back you up a little bit more and say, could you just give me just a thumbnail sketch of your background and kind of everything you've been involved in? It sounds like there could be some super interesting stuff hidden in there.
Sure. So I am originally from Iran. I'm Iranian American now. And I came to US in 2003 as a graduate student. The year that I came actually was a year after a film that I was involved in, which goes back to other stories from back. But basically, a Canadian Iranian director made a film and decided to go with a non-actress as the leading actress. And he picked me as the non-actress because of my personal passion in social change and the kind of activities that I was doing in my undergrad back in Iran in the field of journalism. And I had no idea which direction this film was going to go. Honestly, the film became sort of healing process for me after losing my fiance. So sort of the whole family pushed me toward that direction, and they said, you need that. And I was sort of resisting it, thinking, what else do I need in this life? I don't need anything else, and leave me alone. And they were saying, no, you need this. This is going to help you heal. And the director of the film was an amazing human being. And he also pushed and said, no, I think it's going to help you get out of the depression that you're in. So that's how the film happened. And I had no idea how it's going to be a successful project. And it became a successful project, honestly, because of the brilliant filmmaker. It went to Venice Film Festival, was nominated for Golden Lion and many other international film festivals. And to me, it was like, oh, great. That was something that helped me a little bit get out of the depression mode that I was in and gave me a little bit of a different taste of life. And when I came here as a grad student, it just happened that the film finished its theatrical tour in the US and Europe. And the year after, it was featured on Netflix. So that was how I got the Q&A experience. I was like, everywhere I went, I was this little grad student there, and they want to have screening and Q&A. And at first I was shy, or it was just brought me so much memories that probably I didn't want to go back to. But then I started finding the sessions really engaging and something that I was looking forward to. I really liked the communications. Yeah, so that was it. And then I came here and I got my PhD in international education policy, sort of focusing on intersectionalities that create sort of related to diversity, equity, and inclusion themes. I was passionate about that theme, starting with teaching at universities. Actually, I was at Purdue Fort Wayne when I had that class, and then all other things happened with StoryBolt.
So, award-nominated actress, PhD, professor, startup founder. I mean, so just, you got nothing going on. Right on. All right.
Well, you put it in a way that it sounds like huge. It was not. It was just life that was happening.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just saying it's a little impressive. So, all right. So, thanks for that. I appreciate you providing some of that background. By the way, what's the name of the movie, and is it still on Netflix?
Actually, right now it's on Prime Video. It's called Secret Ballot by Sony Pictures, 2001. So that was quite a while ago.
I'm going to check it out. All right. So let's get back to StoryBolt. Thanks for that digression. When you think of competitors for StoryBolt, who or what comes to mind?
So the competitive landscape is pretty crowded with media platforms and film platforms. But interestingly, we don't have any direct competitors. What we are providing is a B2B SaaS model for HR decision makers to get access to exactly what they need for corporate culture or corporate events. And if you go out there, there is nothing like that. There are many video platforms, even B2B models like Canopy and others who provide films, but they're like depository of films. None of these other platforms do the matching that we do, which is the most important value proposition that we have for companies, saving them time. Also, we are focused on short documentaries because like companies and corporations don't want to spend more than an hour on these events. Understandably, they want to make them short and sweet and engaging. And also the other component that we are very proud of having from first day is the Q&A part, having the license agreement with the filmmakers from day one, that this is not going to be just a film, but also your hours of behind the camera stories that you have is a knowledge that audience will benefit from here about, is the part that we had from day one. And so that's what exactly this platform provides. And there is not really much out there that provides that. There are speaking platform, like speakers platform, but that's speakers. It's not like in form of films or storytelling. Yeah.
And how does the SaaS how is it structured? Am I signing up for like a number of employees that I have? Am I signing up for an amount of content that can be consumed in a month? What does that look like?
Another great question. So we are like, if you're familiar with Audible, the token-based model of Audible.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you are because you're a podcast.
I live on Audible. So, yeah.
Me too. Yeah, I love Audible. And the model that they have, which is subscription, but also you have specific number of credits that you can use each month. And sometimes drives me crazy because I want to start 5 different books at the same time, and it makes me stay focused on finishing 2. And you also have access to some originals, right? Some complementary content is there. So our model is something similar for B2B with number of sort of tokens or credits that companies can use for their different departments. So if it's the director of diversity, equity, and inclusion and has several ERGs, employee resource groups on there. For example, right now we are working with Paylocity, and they have 12 ERGs, and they want to make sure that all the ERGs will get access to some content, not one would use all. So that the token base will give them access. And our platform, the SaaS model, is exactly for that. So the HR decision maker or director of D&I could sort of distribute this access to all these groups, and they can make their own decision on what they want to do, but also make sure that everyone will get access. And through the platform, basically, it's a dashboard that they can submit their request, and the request gets matched with 2 to 3 suggestions, and they get access to those 3 films, and they can watch a low resolution of the film. They can read about the background of the filmmaker and like some other background information that they need to make a decision about this. And then they can rank these 3 options in the dashboard, like what is their top choice and what are the second and third. And then what is the date that they want to have the screening and Q&A. And then on the other side, the filmmaker gets notified, and if the first top choice is available and everything is ready, then their request gets confirmed. I would say think about Airbnb for this part. It's like booking an apartment with someone who sees all these different options, and then you send the request and it gets confirmed. And then on the date of the event, they can just go to the platform and have the screening and Q&A.
And then is that for that Q&A, is that priced separately or is that included in the credit?
It's part of the credit, and the reason that they get that we call it like token-based subscription is beside the Q&A and screening that they get. Then, for example, if they are going with the lowest level, which is 4 credits for the year, they still get access to recorded sessions. There are some complimentary sessions that they can have the screening without Q&A. And they will get 1 impact report by the end of the year, because we believe these sessions are attitude-changing sessions that are happening. So people will get results after several of these sessions. It's not something that could work one-off. They have to continue with these conversations. Some companies call them courageous conversations. So they have to continue with these kind of conversations among employees to get the result. And then by the end of the year, they will get an impact report, knowing where they are compared to other companies and compared to where they've started from.
Can I, and you don't have to answer this if this gives away too much of the secret sauce, but can I ask what's in an impact report?
So the impact report basically gives them a taste of where they've started from, because we do an evaluation at the beginning when they sign up with the subscription based on a survey.
Is that a survey of just the person signing up, or are you surveying employees around the topics that they're planning on hosting content for?
Yeah, we send them a survey around the topics that they request, and they complete the survey, and then at the end of the year, we do the same model of surveys at each session, and then at the end of the year, we will give them the report on how they've done. And we are working on some other modules to give us as we build on this, we can do it ourselves with our own data. But right now, to learn how they are doing compared to other companies and other workplaces out there, we are collaborating actually with Princeton University right now on building this impact reports meaningfully, so they really respond to what companies are looking for on understanding the culture and what are the lags or what are the opportunities for improvements.
Got it. That's fantastic.
This episode is brought to you by Full Stack PEO. Most founders start companies because they figured out a better way to solve a problem or serve a need, not because they love tracking payroll, filling out compliance forms, and explaining employee benefits packages. And yet, all that stuff still has to be done. That's why there's Full Stack PEO. Full Stack PEO specializes in turnkey HR for emerging companies, not just those core services, but advice and expertise that help founders maximize employee potential. Curious? Find out more at fullstackpeo.com.
how long have you been in the market with your MVP?
So with companies and corporations, we started sort of end of 2018, beginning of 2019.
Okay. So it's been about a year and a half. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, about a year. Yeah.
So you're in about 20 paying clients. Do you feel like you have product market fit?
Yes, honestly, we feel that we almost understand what is needed. But as you know, it's every day is a new learning. Every different models of companies and corporations, levels of like number of employees, or now we are getting requests for other countries. Like Groupon was talking about before COVID-19, they were talking about how they want other offices in different countries like Poland and UK and India also get access to that. So these are all new learnings that happens every day. But the basic, yes, we got the product market fit with the basic, and there's always you can change and add and make it more exciting, right?
Yeah. Well, and yours in particular, I was just thinking through, and I'm going to ask you about this in a little bit. I probably don't want to tackle this one yet, but even just thinking through how you can scale, right? You've got the ability to scale possibly with different type of content into different geographies, certainly different B2B customer segments. You just, I imagine every day it's got to be a challenge to stay focused in your business.
It is. Honestly, that's my promise to myself every morning, that you're going to stay focused on this task today. Don't daydream about all these other exciting things that are coming up. Some of them are, though, like as we go further, we see that they could be helpful. For example, during COVID-19 time, because of the isolation and the overall feeling that employees or all of us might have, we started thinking what else besides documentaries could help. Like we stick to storytelling approach, but what other modes of storytelling? And we started exploring with stand-up comedy instead of going with documentary, which is the same kind of model. If you go to stand-up comedy, they are experts in all different areas that are related to culture. So we have stand-up comedians working on mental health. Some are working on gender issues and all different types of stand-up comedians. And we thought, why not? Let's also explore with them. So sometimes we do those and we get great results. But as you said, we are trying to stay laser focused right now with what we have and make minimum additional things.
So do you have a feel yet for who your ideal target customer is? Could you paint a picture of them in terms of like their profile? Could be size, industry, anything that helps narrow it down?
So corporations with the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion that has employee resource group, or they call them business resource groups under. Ideally, the tech companies that have remote employees or are familiar with this model of working in different time zones would be, which usually have big budget for employee engagement, right? Are the ideal clients. So right now we are pretty excited about our meeting with Google and the deal that we are having with Anadlan. But also on the other side, we also had some really great subscriptions with law firms and smaller companies that are passionate to have this positive culture. And they are this new trend of tech companies that already made it. So they have enough employees to start a program like this. So like over 75 or 100 employees. And they are still not too large that they have a separate DEI director or someone who would focus on that specific field, but they have an HR decision maker who is passionate about creating that culture of engagement and involvement. So that's also another group of employees and companies that we are getting good results. We are focusing on corporations right now, honestly, because of the kind of responses that we are getting.
Yeah. How do you reach that target customer? What kind of marketing and or direct sales activity are you doing to try to get in front of a buyer?
Mhm. So right now we are using pretty basic models of warm intros and webinars that we are having on the topics. For example, for month of May and June, month of May is mental health awareness. Month of June is Pride Month. We are holding a webinar about what we have and what could be used for these months. And most of the time, the D&I directors are looking for that kind of programs. And that will get us into the door. Usually an ERG or a group that is focused on these specific topics, or for example, Google, they call themselves Googlers. They have Gagelers, they have Greygellers, and they have all these different interesting ERGs that are focusing on ageism or like all different topics. And so if they get interested in the model, the program sessions that we have, then they will introduce us to their D&I director, and the subscription goes from there. We've also, so far, honestly, we've had a lot of referrals. Like United Airlines introduced us to Amazon, and the person who was in DEI with Women at Workplace, United Airlines, she connected us to a colleague that she had at Amazon who was passionate about the same topic. And the conversation started like that. So we haven't even started doing marketing, and we are getting clients. And as you can imagine with the startup life, that's why we are really passionate about our fundraising now.
Yeah.
To make it happen as soon as possible, because we want to focus on marketing and sales. It's a very exciting time for us.
If I gave you $500,000 right now and said you had to spend it on sales and marketing, how do you think you would spend it?
So one of the biggest things that they found with sales and marketing for corporations for B2B model is the kind of inbound and outbound models that could be used. Definitely LinkedIn is the social media platform that we could use for this model. But conferences and HR conferences and summits, and specifically DEI conferences, would be the best place for us, because we have something that could even be used on those conferences and create the engagement right there. So sort of a sponsorship in these conferences would be the best place to show exactly what is in this model.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. And then from there, it's pretty easy. Another model that we are also pursuing right now, and that's also related to our fundraising because we need the second version of our SaaS model, is channel partnership. So working with consulting firms, boutique consulting firms that already have some sort of training or other kind of programs on all these topics could give us access to lots of other opportunities through them. And we have with our platform right now, we have a reseller white label model that we could put their branding beside our branding and use the platform for their programming. So add this component of storytelling to what they already have and make it even more engaging and attractive for companies. So there are two routes that we are trying to take and experiment with.
Love it. I like the channel partner angle. While you were talking earlier, I was thinking of a couple of D&I consulting firms out of Chicago that I know that I was like, I'll have to forward this episode to them after this goes live. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. That would be perfect.
So, talk to me a little bit about scale. What do you think, when you fast forward 3 to 5 years from now, not to go too far out in the future, but 3 to 5 years from now, what do you think the business looks like if you're successful?
So we are looking at 3 years from now, starting 3 years from now, when we have the recommender system in place and we already trained that module on with making the suggestions and scaling up with our sales, we can then start thinking about scaling out and going to a B2B2C model. And we're going to work on B2B2C model, again, from companies and corporations place. by giving vouchers to employees. And just again, going with the Audible model, if they can have their own vouchers for having like family events or personal events with screening and Q&As on topics that they're passionate about. And it could be anything. It could be about cooking. It could be about any other topic that would make it more meaningful to watch a short story about, or it could be about mental health or conversations that are more difficult to bring in a group of friends or family, and that would facilitate that. So those vouchers would give them access to having this experience on personal level. And then from there, our goal is to go towards that B2C model.
Awesome.
So become the Audible for visual events.
Yes. I've taken up too much of your time already. We're already over. So let's use this as maybe a point to wrap things up. If anybody would like to get in touch with you directly, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. That would be definitely personal email, which is nassim.abdi@storybolt.com. As well as I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So if you are on LinkedIn, I would love to connect with you there. Also, if you like to have a demo and learn more about this model or see our platform, feel free to submit your request on our website, storybolt.com. Book a demo and we'll give you a complete tour of what you could do with the platform and what are the contents that are out there, what are the curated themes that you could use and all that.
Nassim, thank you so much for taking the time. You have an amazing background. I love the idea for the business. I think there's a lot of opportunity in what you're going after, in particular in the way that you've structured the business from a subscription perspective. Super excited to see how things unfold for you guys.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thanks for this opportunity. Thanks for having me. It was really, I really enjoyed this conversation.
Likewise. Thanks. I can't wait to watch Secret Ballots.
Just cautious notice that it's a pretty slow film. If you're familiar with Eastern movies, how slow they are. That's one of them.
It's all good.
But it's human comedy, so you're going to laugh a little bit.
Thanks, Nassim.
If you're thinking of launching a SaaS product, Startup Competitors can provide data on your closest competitors, survey potential users, or provide other product validation services. Learn more at startupcompetitors.com.